is Sarah, a tutor at Accountancy Learning, and in this video I'll take you through the Tax Processes for Business Finance Act 23, AAT Sample Paper 1, Task 7. So this task is all about the principles of payroll, and we've got parts A to C to complete. Part A. Identify whether an employer must report the following information on a full payment submission, which is known as an FPS, or an employment payment summary, known as an EPS. So first of all, I'm going to bring up reference material number 21, and this will help us answer this question. So the first one is a claim for the employment allowance. So for the employment allowance, that is going to go part of the EPS. And that's because it's all about the actual amount that's being paid. So it's going to be on the summary. The employer's national insurance contribution is going to be on our FPS. And then to inform HMRC that no employees have been paid, that will be on our EPS. And we can see if we look at our reference material for EPS, file if no employees were paid in the month. And when we look for our EPS, that's all about include payments to and deductions for all employees. So that's why the national insurance contribution is on the FPS. Next then, identify whether the following statement about payroll deductions is true or false. Student loan repayments are deducted once an employee's income exceeds a predetermined threshold. So this is true. So the government will set a salary threshold for when students have to start paying back their loans. And at the time of recording this video, that is £25,000 per year. So anyone that earns less than £25,000 will not be required to make any payments to their student loan. So for the final part of this question, we are going to be talking about Class Birdie Limited, who employs several members of staff. The finance manager has reviewed the P60s for the tax year 2023-24, and they were distributed to staff on the 20th of May 24. So we're talking about P60s and the date that they were distributed. Complete the following statement. The P60s have been distributed to staff late or on time, and that's what we need to decide. So for this one, I'm going to bring up reference material number 22. And we can see here that for P60s, they need to be given by the 31st of May. So because they were distributed on the 20th of May, we can say that they were distributed on time. Continuing with part C, we've got Sarah J is an employee of Class Birdie Limited. She has queried the amount shown on her P60 as it does not agree with the amount she received during 2023-24, which totalled £18,714.20 from Class Birdie Limited. And then we're given an extract of her P60. We are then given some more details. So Sarah J worked for Class Birdie Limited for the last 10 months of 2023-24 and received an annual salary of £28,800. This was paid in equal monthly instalments. Sarah J was a member of the company pension scheme, and the employee pension contributions were 120 per month, and the employer pension contributions were £72 per month. In the exam, you will be able to open all of that information on the right-hand side of your screen using the references section, so you can have the question open and the information open at the same time. We've then got a little table here that we now need to complete. So we've got to complete the table below to reconcile the amounts that Sarah J received to her gross pay from Class Birdie Limited and the amount on her P60 in 2023-24. We need to enter all amounts to 2 decimal places, use a minus sign to show any deductions from the pay. And then in the exam, you've got little drop-down boxes here, and these are your options to choose from. So let's have a look at this then. So gross pay. So we need to put a figure in for gross pay. Now, using the information that we're given, it'd be very easy at this point to just take that figure there. But we need to remember that Sarah has only worked for Class Birdie Limited for 10 months of that tax year. So we need to calculate what her gross pay is going to be. So her annual salary is 28,800. We'll divide that by 12 months to get her monthly salary and multiply it by 10 to actually get her gross pay for the amount of time that she's worked in this tax year, which gives us 24,000. So that's going to be the first box that we can fill in here. Now, what comes off of gross pay to give us our taxable gross pay is going to be our pension contributions. So they come off before tax so that it reduces our tax liability. So we're going to have our employee pension contributions. And we were told they were £120 per month. And again, we've got our 10 months. So 120 times 10, 1,200. And remember, we need to use a minus sign to show a deduction from her pay. We can now do that calculation, 24,000 minus 1,200, to give us the taxable gross pay per P60, which is up here. So on the P60 up here, we can see that this is the taxable pay, 22,800, and that's the figure that we've calculated down here. So next, we now need to consider what now comes off in order to get her net pay. So the net pay is actually what Sarah's going to receive into her bank. So what actually comes off now are our taxable gross pay. We've already got employees' national insurance contributions already written in for us. So the other deduction that needs to be made is going to be income tax. So you can see that as one of our options there. So where do we now get this information from? So the tax and the national insurance contributions are given to you in the question. So if we scroll up to the extract of the P60, we can see tax deducted here, and we're looking for in this employment. So we've got an income tax deduction of 2,463.40. So we'll put that in here. with our minus. And then our national insurance, we've got our national insurance here. And there is the total employees' contribution, which we can now put in here. And when you then calculate that, you will end up with the net pay figure here. So the reconciliation is complete. Do remember to go back at the end of the question and make sure you've done the formatting. So to 2 decimal places. So to make sure we get full marks on this, we need to put our 0.00 in as well. That's always a tip when you're doing your questions. It's very easy to type out, especially when we're working in whole numbers, type out the number without any decimal places. So do always go back and check whether there is a decimal place requirement for formatting, so you don't lose the marks. And that's the end of task 7.